Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Power Rangers. Go, go, Power Rangers! So, like a proper 90s baby, I loved Power Rangers growing up. So, I have a certain affinity for this franchise. A certain amount of nostalgia kicked in when I saw they were doing a new film. The trailers, however, had me very much on the fence. So I didn't know what to expect, but I was hoping for just kind of a campy good time with this film. And in the end, I had a good time. I think it was a pretty solid movie. There are definitely quite a bit of problems, but we'll get to those in a minute. Let's start off with what the film does well. First of all, I think the entire cast did a solid job. R.J. Cyler plays the Blue Ranger, who was by far my favorite. I thought he was hilarious. I thought he brought the most heart into the film. Just spot on. But really, all of our Rangers do a solid job. I don't think any of the others really stood out as great, or none of them were bad, but the ensemble was solid. Somebody who did stand out as really, really good to me was Bill Hader as the voice for Alpha 5. I thought he did a fantastic job. He had a lot of great lines. He really worked with what he was given, and I thought he was the perfect choice to play the role here. I also thought Bryan Cranston was very good. He didn't have a whole lot to do, but he did what he was given, and he did it well. And the cast member I think is going to divide people the most, but I ended up loving, was Elizabeth Banks. Was she over the top? Yes. Was she super, super campy? Yes. Did I love every second of it? Yes. This is what I wanted from a Power Rangers movie. I needed that over-the-top, grandiose, kind of ridiculous villain, and she full-on delivered. She was giving you her best 90s Power Rangers villain. A little bit pulled in from what we saw in those 90s shows and movies, but still just deliciously campy. And I'm gonna say, the last act of this movie, I was smiling the entire time. Once we are actually introduced to the Power Rangers, fully suited up, in the armor, it's a blast. Like, this movie just takes off from there, and it's a fun time throughout the rest of the film. We get numerous references back to the old shows and the old movie. We got a reference to another film in there that I thought was super fun. The whole thing, it just was a blast. Watching them fight, get into action, it all was great. I also think this made for a solid, not great, but solid, just teen movie. I think it's a really fun way to get younger audiences involved in kind of the superhero genre and to introduce the Power Rangers to a new younger audience. I think this movie works for the nostalgia factor for people like me. They added so many Easter eggs in there that it definitely is catering to my age level. But I also think just in tone and in style and in the issues that it faces, it is also really catering to that younger audience and trying to usher them in. So we were told just like a week ago or so that Trini, the Yellow Ranger, was going to be a lesbian. So we had another big gay story break right after Beauty and the Beast happened. And I thought it was handled well. I'm going to say now, none of the Rangers have a love story in this movie, including the Yellow Ranger. But it was a great moment, I think, that was genuine and it felt heartfelt. It was one of my favorite scenes, actually, of the entire film, is this campfire scene that takes place. And it was one of the more heartfelt moments of the movie. And I think that this film does do a good job of showing this team start to come together and showing all of them evolve as people. I also loved the song choices, the soundtrack for this film. I didn't love the score. I actually thought the score was a negative. But I think that the actual pop music that was used here, spot on. Just great choices. So now, as we transition into the rest of those negatives, the first one is definitely tone. This movie bounces back and forth a lot on what kind of tone it wants to be. What kind of film does it want to be? It goes from kind of serious, we want to be like that kind of edgy, takes itself seriously, superhero type film, and then it bounces into, but wait a minute, we're also those same Power Rangers you loved from the 90s that were kind of campy, kind of cartoony, kind of ridiculous. So it never really settles in on a good tone until that final act where there are stakes, you do feel the danger, but they never stop having fun with it. But those first two acts, it really switches. And one moment that really kind of just took me out of it was when they were emerging in their suits for the first time. They played this really like cheesy, overly dramatic music, but it wasn't meant to be like on the nose. And yet it really was. So tonal shifts were definitely the biggest problem here. And overall, the script is pretty weak. I mean, most of the dialogue doesn't really land. And when it comes to jokes, I think a lot of them do land, but just as many of them fall flat. So a 50-50 ratio can't really be seen as a positive when you go for as many jokes as this kind of film does, and you only land about half of them. And I have to say that as an origin story, it really does play like most every other teen movie we've seen before. So you really gotta trudge it out because it's a long time before we actually see suited up Power Rangers in this film. So you really have to be interested in this like teen story with the teen kind of drama and the teen problems for a while before you get the payoff of those Rangers you know and love. I'm also going to say I hated the beginning. I really thought the entire opening sequence up through the title Power Rangers coming up on the screen was really bad. It felt like it wanted to take itself way too seriously right off the bat. I didn't like the point of view that they were showing, and then they added in like crude, kind of funny jokes, but it just added to that like tonal mess that would later continue. As for the CGI and special effects, I think it worked well on the Rangers and their suits. Other parts definitely looked muddled and messy. I also really don't like seeing like that whole jump thing, which I already knew from the trailers. I mean, it just looked ridiculous, and they do like climbing and other things as actual humans, and all of it just didn't look good to me. And we also had a lot of kind of weird shaky cam put in weird places. Didn't bother me too much because once we got into like the action and all the fun stuff, it didn't really affect it. But weird points of view, weird shaky cam addition, and about 50-50 good CGI. So overall, like I said, I did have fun. I think this movie gets it right in you put your best foot forward at the end. So I'm leaving the theater having smiled the entire last act of the film, and I leave the theater smiling too. So I'm gonna say, if you're a Power Rangers fan, give this a full price ticket. Of course there are gonna be some things that irk you, but I think overall you're gonna have a good time with it. If you have teenagers or like 10-year-old aged kids, I say give this a full price ticket. They'll really enjoy it, and there's enough in here that the parents will go along with it as well. If you don't have that nostalgia factor and you don't have kids in that age, I think it's still a nice watch, but save it for a rental. Also, there is an after credit scene, so make sure you stay through those first set of credits because there's a nice little extra Easter egg for you. So, that is my review of Power Rangers. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Power Rangers? Were you a fan? And which is your favorite series of the Power Rangers? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!